What's going on, guys? This week we're going to be reviewing the new Parfait Vengeance box and animation Throwdown. First up, we're going to be taking a look at the new legendary pre-combo of the box, Vengeance Quagmire. So this is a really tanky looking pre-combo that will work really well on defense. It's got above 60 HP, which is right there in the sweet zone. Anything above 50 is like really good, and anything above 60 is just top tier A1. As far as its skills though, it also has some really nice skills to make it a bit harder to kill there. It does have 12 leech when it is quad fused out, so that means every turn it will be getting its HP back a bit more, so that's going to be really hard to kill. On top of that, it has the recover skill there too, so once you drop this card down on the field, you don't have to worry about it too much anymore. Just go down the card line and make other combos, and every time you make a new combo, you can increase that HP pool even more. You also have a bit of craze built in there, which is nice, so it can get stronger over time. But one thing I really like about it, though, for the defense here, especially during the current fighter battleground effect, is because it has such high HP. One of the boosts for fighter this time around is a 50% increase to its HP based off of its HP stat. So its HP is going to be insanely high up there in the 90s with that boost in there. So you're looking at a really tanky, hard to kill pre-combo card on defense this time around. You can kind of run this on offense too as a buffer card if you need it. It does have the leech to be self-healing there, and the craze is nice. It is going to be very slow starting with that though, so I definitely see this card being more of a defensive card over offense, but it can be a little buffer there if you need it. Now, next up, we're going to be taking a look at the legendary items of the box. First up is the new item, That's My Parfait. So this card is, strictly speaking, an offensive card. It is actually one of the highest attack stats among fighter items in the game at 19. I believe all of the older last generation fighter cards, the highest they went was like 15 or 16, something like that. So this is like kind of the new standard up there towards the 19-20 range. So definitely something to keep in mind on offense. Now I do want to say, I did say this is strictly an offensive card, but you can also keep in mind, because the fighter battleground effect does give you a 50% increase buff to HP, pretty much almost any item can be used defensively, because with that buff it will put their HP up there in the 50s and 60s range normally for those lower HP ones round of fighter, if you need to have it in there to balance out your deck, because it's not going to be as vulnerable as it would with its normal 37 HP there when you have that buff calculated in. And that's actually really good to think about for its skills here, because skill-wise, it has some pretty great defensive skills. With Payback, Hijack, and Bomb, those are all great for dealing out damage and stalling out your opponent's decks from kind of getting the edge against you there. Normally, I would be hesitant to run that on defense with the 37 HP because it can be taken out pretty easily, but with that extra buff, with this current round of fighter, it might have a chance of surviving a hit or so. So something to keep in mind, it can work relatively well on that with that buff included on it. Anyways, let's go ahead and take a look at the combos that you can make with this new card. So as you can see here, it is pretty limited for what you can make. There are only 47 combos currently available across the game for fighter with this particular card. We'll be taking a look at some of the top fighter combos that you can make with this card. So first up is one of my favorites, a classic staple in pretty much all of my fighter decks, Chicken Fight, which you can make with Peter. You can see me use this card in the last fighter battleground effect to much success. It was a crazy clusterfuck of just nonsense and chaos, and it was so much fun. This combo has Punch, Bomb, and Motivate, so it's kind of just a great heavy-hitting damage dealer, and it also plays a bit of support there as well. One thing to keep in mind too is another perk of the current battleground effect for fighter is that it does give a 50% increase to bomb as well, based off of I believe the attack stat. So that bomb damage that you're seeing there for him, well, first things first, when everything is quad fused out, it has more than 9 bomb. It has way more than 9 bomb, but that will be getting a 50% buff added on to that as well. So you're dealing out a metric crap ton of punch on top of the bomb damage there, and you have a really good amount of motivate with everything for the quad fuses. So a whole deck of chicken fights can be a really, really fun deck to play with. Just something to keep in mind, but it's definitely a combo that I really enjoy running. Next up is Tina Tackle, which you can make with Tina. I'm including this one specifically for any of you guys that have a lot of Tina sitting in the wings. I know she is one of the few legendary characters that you can get as free-to-play from just regular packs and such, so I know there are some of you out there with some Tina armies. So Tina Tackle, while she doesn't have a lot of power behind her, actually has some pretty neat potential. The Bodyguard is going to come in handy a lot this Battleground effect because a lot of fighter combos do have punch, so you can be blocking a good chunk of that, and with those added bombs getting thrown into the mix, you're going to be protected from that as well. What I really like about Tina Tackle though, and that's what's kind of really underrated, is that shield all there. Keep in mind it is shield all only to fighter, but if you are running an all fighter deck, if you can get a team of these on the field, they will be shielding each other, which compounds and stacks upon each other, and if you have enough shield all in the field, your card line pretty much becomes untouchable. I know a lot of Walkers of Gilmer members this past Rumble did similar strategies with that new Paintball Hank combo for Armed, where it was just a whole nonsensical wall of shield all protecting them, and that combo also had heal, so it was great. So that's the kind of one downside to this, is Tina Tackle doesn't really have any way to heal itself or other cards, so the shield all and the Bodyguard is nice for protection, but you might have to have some other combos planned to get some heals in there for high scores. One other good thing about her though is the gas damage there as well. It's another great way to kind of just chip away at your opponent's HP and get rid of their cards, which is going to become insanely useful because with that fighter buff to the HP, cards are getting put up way up there, and the quicker you can bring them down, the better, because there's less opportunity for your opponents to build a wall against you. So all three skills are pretty useful, so don't underestimate this combo. And this next combo we actually hinted at in a previous box review as kind of unconfirmed at the time, but as you can see is live in game, so this is real, it's happening. Steverino. This is a phenomenal defensive combo if you want to stall out your opponents. It's got a metric crap ton of wall, hijack, and leech when everything is quad fused out. So it's pretty much damn near unkillable, especially because with that HP buff that it's getting from the fighter bonus, I think its HP is up in the high 80s and 90s with everything quad fused out. It has, I think, something in the range of around 20 wall and 20 something leech. And then the hijack is also relatively high as well, so it's pretty damn hard to kill this card. And with that hijack there, it's a great way to stall out your opponents because quite a few of the new fighter combos they added do have craze built into it, so it's a good hard counter to those combos. So could not recommend it more as a defensive option for that. And speaking of good defensive options, a new combo you can make with Klaus Heisler is Smoke Bomb. This is a really good one to run on defense as well for a couple reasons. One, Klaus already as a base character has I think 60 HP when he's quad fused out, so that's already a great defensive character to have. When you make the combo with this, with the fighter buff going on, once again I think it's similar to Steve, up in the 80s and 90s HP, and what's really good are the skills there. He already naturally has bomb, so with the added 50% bomb buff from the Battleground effect, you're going to be dealing out a metric crap ton of that to really cause some damage against your opponents there, to really put a dent in their scores. And speaking of putting dents in scores, you also got that nasty gas there, so not only are you bombing their cards, you're going to be gassing them. And on top of that, you got cripple all, so if you can get a good team of these on the field, your opponents are going to be getting bombed left and right, gassed into oblivion, and they're going to be crippled all the way down to where they're pretty much not going to be able to attack your cards. So even if they do manage to beat you, with all the damage they're going to be taking from this, it's most likely not going to be a good score. So this is definitely a really good combo to run in a defense deck for Rumble. This next combo is going to be one of your potential healers for fighter, Dummy Fight, which you can make with Roger. So keep in mind he has heal all there, but the heal all does only go to fighter cards and combos. So you're not going to see use from that unless you're running a good chunk of cards being fighters. So keep that in mind when making this combo. That being said though, I do like it on offense because not only is it a good healer for your fighter deck, it has the cripple to kind of mitigate incoming damage so you can keep your cards relatively high so you can take full advantage of that heal all, and you have the gas damage there to chip away at your opponent's HP, because like I said, with that added buff to HP to fighter cards, you're going to need a little bit of extra help to bring that down a bit quicker, so not a bad option to go offensively with that. You also have another healer up in this next combo. It's an oldie but a goodie, Stickin Hank. So this one, similar to the Roger combo, has heal all as well. However, this one is not limited to just fighter cards. This heal all can go to any card, which makes this an actual great combo to run, not just for the fighter battleground effect, but a good general healer to run for rumbles and challenges if you ever just need some free heals and don't really have anything else to play to whatever the current battleground effect is, and if you want to get those heals in there. He also has Sturdy Wall, which protects himself a little bit, and payback damage, which is really good to run. Kind of, it's more suited for defense usually, but offensively, it's kind of good because it's, once again, a good way to chip away at your opponent's HP to bring them down even quicker. So, something to keep in mind there. I would not recommend running a Stickin Hank on defense, as it's really easy to one-shot a Hank Hill, and on top of that, while the payback and stuff is nice for this card, it's not that much of a hard-hitting combo. It's more of a support healer, so it's better suited for an offensive deck for your free heals. And next up is Jealous Bobby. This one can also be a killer combo if used correctly. It has Punch, Jab, and Craze. So the Punch is great to cause some extra damage against your opponents. The Jab is also nice to kind of break through walls and shields, though you're not going to be necessarily seeing too much of that. There are a few combos out there that will have the shields and walls, so you might have an opportunity, but it won't be as rampant as it was during the ARM Battleground effect, where all ARM cards were getting shielded. You do have Craze built in there as well, so it will get stronger turn over turn. It is a little bit of Craze though. It's a small amount, so it's definitely a slow starter to build that. So keep that in mind when running this combo. But it can be a really good one to run offensively. Defensively, Bobby is kind of middle ground. He's not insanely high HP, but he's not insanely low either. So you can use him. Just be careful with that. But even in a defense deck, if this combo gets made, it's going to be causing a bit of damage. So it's not a bad combo by any means. And next is the new combo that you can make with Fry, Clock Clock Fry. So this is actually a pretty decent looking offensive combo. You have Cripple, which is going to be great to mitigate incoming damage, and you have naturally a good amount of bomb there. So if everything is quad fused out, and then you if everything's quad fused out and you're taking advantage of that fighter bonus there, those bombs are going to be insanely high for some flank damage. On top of that, you do have the jab, so if you do get thrown up against anything with some sturdy walls or shields, you can be busting through that. But what I really like about this card is definitely going to be that cripple and that bomb. I see that coming in handy very easily for an offensive deck. Defense-wise, once again, would not really recommend running it. Fry is just too high of a risk. He can get one-shotted pretty damn easily. So if you have other higher HP characters, that's my suggestion to you to run that. Otherwise, if Fry's the best you got, by all means, go for it. It can still do a lot of damage if this combo gets made. And the last legendary combo we're going to be going over for Fighter is with Meg, to make Meg's in charge. This is another potential healer option. It does have heal all, similar to the Hank combo, which can go to any card, and it also has the payback just like the Hank one did. You're just trading in your sturdy wall for bodyguard instead. So unlike Hank, she can't really protect herself too much, but the bodyguard will be protecting her and the card flanks to your immediate left and right from bombs and punches, which honestly might be a bit more useful than the sturdy wall this time around, with all the extra bombs getting thrown into the mix and all the punches that are on a lot of the fighter combos. So something just to keep in mind with that. So she's definitely a good option to run as support for heals on offense, and I'd argue on defense she has her place just for that payback and the bodyguard alone. And now with the legendary combos out of the way, let's take a look at what you can do with the mythic cards. So first up, we're going to be looking at my boy Stewie here to make Karate Stewie. This is a sexy looking combo right there. He has a disgusting amount of punch, a disgusting amount of boost, and a pretty good amount of craze too. So you're looking at a really hard-hitting powerhouse with this combo. It's going to be causing some major damage with the punches. It's going to get stronger turn over turn with the craze. And if you happen to make other combos down the line, you're going to be jacking up its attack through the roof really quickly. So not only do you have the craze there, but that boost compounded on top of that is insane. So definitely a hard-hitting powerhouse on offense. Even on defense, I would argue you could toss it in there on defense and it will be causing some major fucking damage there. So definitely a great combo. Next up is the new combo with Peggy, Class Spanker. This is definitely more of a defensive combo in my opinion over offense. Just because Peggy is one of the tankier mythics, and skill-wise, those skills are suited perfectly for defense in my opinion there. You got an insane amount of payback damage, you got a really good amount of hijack to stall out the craze, and you have a crazy amount of punch. So between the punch and payback, you're going to be dishing out a lot of damage there, which is really going to hurt your opponent's scores. And then the hijack is just good to stall them out so they can't build any craze against you. Definitely a really good defensive combo to be running. You can run it on offense for the punch and payback too there, just to burn through your opponent's card walls a bit more. But generally speaking, just because it has no way to really build its attack with craze or anything, I feel like it's pretty stalled out at its base stats there, so I feel it's more suited towards defense because of that. Next up is the mythic combo you can make with Stan for Mascot Fighter Stan. This is pretty similar to the Peggy one. It's a great one to run on defense there with the punch, the hijack, and the payback. It's pretty much an identical clone there. It's just slightly different stats across the board there. But yeah, pretty much everything I said for Peggy goes for this combo as well. Alright, and next up is quite arguably one of my favorite, if not my favorite fighter combo of the Mythics for Bob for Christmas Punch-Out. I absolutely love this combo because it can work perfectly on offense or defense. Its skills are perfectly well balanced for both. You have an insane amount of punch to be really decking out a lot of damage there. You got the hijack to stall out their crazes, and you have a disgusting amount of leech there, so it's self-healing on top of that. I absolutely love this combo and could not recommend it enough. If you have a mythic Bob, or even if you're running just the epic Bobs in your deck, if you're at a lower level of play, still, make sure you're running this combo because it is definitely a phenomenal combo to be running for Fighter. Another really good one is Bakaneko Fighter Luis, which you can make with Luis. It's similar to Bob in that she has a crap ton of punch and leech. You just don't have the hijack, and unfortunately it is lower attack than Bob would be, but the trade-off is it's way more HP. So this is definitely a really hard to kill combo to make in defense. So if you're running this on defense and it gets made, your opponents are not going to be having a fun time against it. Offensively, you can run it too. Just be careful to be strategic with those leeches to maximize your score. You don't want to play it too far down the line or against something it can't take out too quickly where it'll get too much damage on it, because like I said, it's not much attack, and while it does have a crap ton of punch, you have no control where those punches go, so that's kind of just a dice roll, so just be careful with that. Next up, we're going to be taking a look at Dr. Zoidberg's new mythic combo, Action Delivery Force Zoidberg. I think this is a great supporting combo. It can actually be used pretty effectively on offense and defense. For offense, it's definitely more support with the Motivate there to fellow fighter cards, and you have the protection with the Bodyguard there to just block a lot of the nonsensical bombs and punches getting thrown around. And on top of that, you're dishing out a lot of flank damage there with an insane amount of bombs. For those very same reasons, it works great on defense. Like I said, crap ton of bomb damage, and the Bodyguard is great to protect your card line from one-shots. Next up is Action Delivery Force Leela, which you can make with Leela. This, in my opinion, is definitely a bit more offense than defense. Not to say her skills aren't suited for defense, it's just Leela as a mythic character has really low HP at 35 if she's just base level, which means she is a really big one-shot risk. So unless you have a quad-fused Leela, I would be very hesitant about running this in defense because there is the shot for her to just get demolished before this combo gets made. That being said though, once the combo does get made, you're looking at some really nice skills there. It has an insane stat for craze, so it can become a complete nightmare powerhouse really quickly. And it has the hijack value there too to stall out your opponents. What's really neat though, if you're running a Futurama deck, this is a great combo to make offensively to just power up your card line because it has an insane cheer stat there to fellow Futurama cards. It'll power up any one Futurama card by 30 plus there for its attack, so you're looking at a major powerhouse there for support. So something to keep in mind on offense there, even in a siege deck for Futurama. Something to keep in mind because that's an amazing freaking combo to make for Futurama. And next up, you might recognize this one as the pre-combo of the box. You can make Vengeance Quagmire with the actual comboed cards here. So like I said, for the pre-combo, it's really great with the craze and the leech there. It also has the recover skill. The combo version here is obviously stronger than the pre-combo. It's definitely more of a offensive combo in my opinion, whereas the pre-combo is more defensive. I feel like the comboed version is going to be a bit more offensive, just because you have a bit more control here with it. It has higher craze stat, it's got higher leech, and on top of that, the base Quagmire card at 44 HP, while not terrible, isn't great either, and it can be one-shot pretty relatively easily, so something to keep in mind. That's just kind of why I feel it's better suited for offense for the comboed version. Next up, you have Brainwashed Hayley with the Hayley card. This is really similar to the Stewie combo in that it has the craze and the punch. You just trade off the boost for jab instead. So not a bad one by any means to run offensively. Once again, wouldn't really recommend running on defense. I mean, you can. 44 HP for the base Hayley is low, but she does have bodyguard and leech, so she has some survivability there. So you can run it on defense, but definitely it's a killer for offense there for sure. And then next up, we have Martial Arts Bullock with Bullock. So this is going to be similar to the Tina one in that you have shield all to fighter. So something to never underestimate. Like I said earlier, don't underestimate a shield all wall to just block you out a bunch of damage. This is going to be a great one to run as support on offense because of that. You also have the Cripple and Gas, which is a great combination as well to just kind of stall out their attacks and really put a chip on their HP and chip away at that and just destroy them really quickly. So definitely a good one to run offensively. I would kind of try to steer clear of it on defense. Bullock as a mythic card is pretty low HP. He does have sturdy wall, but I don't know. I just don't really feel him on defense. He's definitely more offensive in my opinion, at least at base level there. And next up, we have the combo with Teddy here to give you Fowl Fighter Teddy. This is a freaking great one for support. If you look here, it's got a crap ton of sturdy wall, it's got shield all, and on top of that shield all, it has an insane amount of shield to one additional card. So not only is it going to be shielding your entire card line, but one card out of your card line is going to get that additional shield added onto the shield all. So one of your cards is going to be damn near invincible for each turn. So you're looking pretty good with that. It's a great support buffer there. It can work well on defense too. Just keep in mind base Teddy only has 40 HP, so he's definitely a one-shot potential there. But if this combo gets made, it's going to be pretty hard for your opponent to get a perfect score against you. And the last mythic combo you can make is with the new Professor Farnsworth mythic card, Scientific Rivals. This one is kind of a mixed bag. It has skills that are suited both for offense and defense, but I'm not too impressed by its base stats. It does have an insane amount of payback and punch, which is great for defense there, and the leech makes itself healing there. I just don't really like his stats is the thing. It's really low at 40 HP there. And Professor Farnsworth alone as a mythic card has really low HP as well. It's true that he has bodyguard, but I don't know. I'm just not a fan of the Farnsworth mythic card. I looked at it when it first came out, and I gotta say, I wasn't too impressed. That being said, with the fighter buff getting thrown into the added HP, it can work on defense really well with those skills. Just keep in mind, like I said, Farnsworth, really big risk to run him there. But hey, if you want to run this combo, go for it. It seems like it's a really high risk, but also a really high reward payoff there. And that's going to do it for pretty much all of the top fighter combos that you can make in the game right now with this card. Next up, we'll be taking a look at the second item in the box, the new Caporia Reginald. So this is a pretty well balanced out card. It's got fairly good attack at 16. That was the old high around there of the last generation of fighter cards, so it's still comparatively up there just because there's not too many other cards that have a higher attack stat for fighter right now. HP is a little bit low at 42, but keep in mind with the fighter buff, you're pretty much don't have to worry too much about that. I really like its skills there with the bodyguard at 7, so that's going to be protecting you a little bit from all that nonsense getting thrown around. You got the punch and the jab, so all pretty good stuff there. I think it's definitely a pretty well balanced item. And as far as your combos go, it makes pretty much the exact combos we already covered before. I think the only exception is this card does not combo with Fry, unfortunately. But yeah, still pretty solid for combo synergy there. And then the last legendary item on the box is the old-fashioned wrestling card. So this is a last generation fighter card. It definitely goes a bit more on defense than offense just because of its stats and skills. 47 HP is, while not 50, pretty damn close to that, and with the added buff of Fighter, that's going to be relatively high on defense there with the extra HP we'll be getting. It does have payback damage and cripple, so you'll be dealing out some extra damage each turn, crippling your opponents, and you got some support there with the Motivate. And what's cool is that Motivate can go to any card, not just to your Fighter card, so this will kind of be a good defensive one to run in almost any deck if you need an extra item in there. And as far as the combos go, it makes relatively the same ones as before. It only makes 43 combos across the board. There is one combo that is different though for the Mythics, so let's take a look at that one. And that is with Stan. You can make guns beat karate. So this one is definitely a bit more, I think, offensive than defensive like the other one was. This one has punch, bomb, and recover. So you have that punch and bomb to be doing some major damage offensively there, which is good, and the recover can boost up your HP pool a bit as you make more combos. It can run on defense with those skills too. The recover, don't get me wrong, is great to keep it alive. I just feel like the Mascot Fighter Stan with his skills was a better one to run defensively versus this. In fact, I'd argue that the Mascot Fighter Stan is the better fighter combo for Stan's combos there. But don't get me wrong, this is still a pretty good looking combo. I just prefer the Mascot Fighter one. And that's going to do it for all three of the legendary items in the box. Now let's take a look at the characters. So first up is Klaus Heisler. Klaus is a really good defensive character because he has a really good HP stat at 60 when he is quad fused out. Skill-wise, he also has that recover there, so you can increase his HP pool even more as you make more combos down the line too. The 10 gas is nice to shave off points from your opponents. Just keep in mind though, the attack actually has to connect for that to get triggered, and with 4 attack, you're not going to be breaking through any cards that have shields or walls, so just keep that in mind. You do have a little bit of shield all there as well, however that is limited only to fellow American Dad cards, so not many people run American Dad decks. It's kind of an oddity in the game, so unless you're playing in Siege for an American Dad island, it's pretty rare that you're going to see any use of that. That being said though, it is an option, it's there, just so you're aware of it. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the combos that you can make with Klaus. So as you can see here, Klaus does currently combo with 148 different cards across the game. He is a bit more limited than some of the other characters, as there's only so many combos he makes across the different traits. There are definitely other characters with way more combos in the game. That being said though, he does have some really good defensive ones. As far as fighter combos go, his only fighter one is that new Smoke Bomb one that we just covered, so we're going to be jumping right on in to my top 5 combo list for Klaus. And incidentally, Smoke Bomb is actually up there on that list. For the same reasons I mentioned earlier when we covered it already, I just think it is a great combo to run defensively to cause your opponent some nightmares, so it kind of easily made my, my top 5 list for him there. Next up, you have Whiskey Bartender that you can make with some drunk cards with Klaus. This is a really good defensive combo to run during the Drunk Battleground effect. It is insanely hard to kill because not only does it have a lot of HP, it's got sturdy wall to make it that much harder to hit, and it's got a crazy amount of bodyguard to be blocking a lot of the punches that get thrown around during the Drunk Battleground effect from the Viking Peters and the Millennium Fries and such. So definitely a good defensive buffer there to kind of just block out your opponents. It also has Hijack, so it's another great counter to those Viking Peters that get thrown around so much to prevent them from crazing off the ground. So a really good defensive combo for Drunk. Next up on my list is one of Klaus's armed combos, Cartel Klaus. This is a really nasty defensive one, similar to the last combo we just covered. It has Hijack there, so you can stall out a lot of the craze that a lot of the armed combos have, and on top of that, you have Leech here, which makes this card damn near unkillable because it already has an insane amount of HP. And to boot, you also have the gas damage there. So not only are you preventing them from crazing and pretty much making this unkillable, you're going to be gassing the shit out of them so that they can't really do anything to get a good score. You'll be trickling away at their health turn over turn till they're just a shallow husk of their former glory. Next up on my list is Shots Klaus. This is another good one for Drunk for defense. It's not quite as good as the Whiskey Bartender one in my opinion, but it still has its place. Similar to Whiskey, it has the sturdy wall, And on top of that, it also has a shield amount that can go to a fellow drunk card. So it's another good kind of defensive support. Not gonna lie, I definitely like Whiskey a lot better than this one, and we're starting to scrape the bottom of the barrel here for Klaus's good combos. I'm not gonna lie, after those first three, it was really hard for me to pick the remaining two for my top 5 list, because while he has some nice looking ones, there weren't any that really stuck out with me too much that were just amazing that had to make my list. So I really had to dive down and really think about the individual cards, but this one kind of made my cut for those defensive skills there, just because Klaus by nature is mostly a defensive character. And last up for the top 5 list, I'm including Junk Food Klaus, just because they're kind of hinting like they might be going in the direction of adding a new addicted battleground effect into the game, which I think would be pretty neat. And this also kind of plays to my concept of Klaus being a defensive character, because those skills are definitely defensive skills with bomb and gas to kind of just cause some flank damage to your opponents and gas the ever-loving crap out of them. So that's kind of why it made my list this time around as well for it. But yeah, like I said, after those first 3, it was really hard for me to find combos to add for his top combos there, because while Klaus is an amazing defensive character, he just does not have too many killer combos across different traits right now, which kind of sucks. I'm really hoping they add more stuff in the future for him there. But yeah, that's kind of where my head's at on Klaus at this point in time. And the other character in the box is Hank Hill, which we've actually covered in the last box review that I posted to my channel, so my opinion has not changed on him. Pretty much everything I said in that video, it stays the same for both him and his combos. So feel free to check out that video to get my my thoughts and opinions on Hank Hill, and just to kind of see his top combos you can make there for him. As far as fighter combos go, he pretty much only has that Stickin Hank combo we've already covered earlier in this video. However, I think he also does have a groin kicker combo in there too with one of the cards, if I'm not mistaken, just as another option. But yeah, once again, if you want to check out my thoughts on Hank Hill as a character card and also see my top 5 combo list for him, feel free to check out that previous box review. The link will be up on screen and in the video description. Alright, now let's take a look at the epic pre-combos of the box really quick. So first up is Smoke Bomb. Not gonna lie, while I do love the actual combo version of this combo that you can make yourself for defense, I think the pre-combo version here is absolute trash. 39 HP is atrocious. One thing to keep in mind with that the buff added to fighter cards, it can work for you because it's a 50% increase this time around, but I kind of am concerned about the longevity of this card's use next time fighter is around, because I doubt they're going to be doing a 50% increase again for at least 4 fighter for the HP there. So my concern is you might get some mileage out of this card this time around, but what about next time? Because if they don't have anything to buff the HP again next time, it's pretty useless. But 9 punch and 6 craze don't really do it for me to justify such abysmal stats for attack and HP, so I'm kind of on a hard no for this card. In contrast, the Fowl Fighter Teddy pre-combo, while not above the 50 mark that I'm looking for HP, at 47 it's pretty darn close, and taking advantage of that 50% buff this time around will be nice to add to that, and it's just nice little extra support there for the shield wall, the shield, and the sturdy wall. So I can see this one working on defense from definitely this time around with the fighter buff, and even in the future ones, maybe not at the top level of play if you don't have that HP buff, but I can still see it having its use in some defensive decks as a little bit of a buffer card there. So just something to keep in mind. While the Smoke Bomb one was a hard no for me, this one I see as having some potential. So final thoughts on the box. The Legendary pre-combo I think is pretty good for defense. It also is a great one for Siege, for a Family Guy in my opinion, so it has its uses there. I wouldn't go so far as saying it is a top tier must-have pre-combo that like this is the card you have to have. There are definitely better pre-combos out there, but I definitely don't think it's useless either. I think it definitely has its place in defense, especially for Family Guy and Siege and Fighters, so not a bad card. As far as your items go, I pretty much like all the items. I don't really have anything bad to say about any of them. I think it's great that the new That's My Parfait card is setting a new standard for fighter attack. so that's great to give you some more high attacks on things. The Caporia Reginald is a nice, well-balanced one, and Fashion Wrestling, even though it's old, still has its place on defense there. As far as the characters go, Klaus, I think, is a great defensive character to have, and he is a bit of a rarer card, so he's not in too many boxes. If you do want to build up a collection of him, not a bad box to dip into to try to just get your feet wet on that. One thing I did forget to mention about Klaus earlier when we were touching up on him is that he is an animal card, so when the animal battleground effect is going on, the character card of Klaus does benefit from the battleground effect buffs as well as the item, so it's just something to keep in mind. As for Hank, you can never have too many Hanks. He's a great legendary character to have for offense. Has some really good combos across the spectrum there for the different traits. So really good character just in general to have. As for your epic pre-combos, Smoke Bomb is trash. Fowl Fighter Teddy has its place in a defense deck, especially this time around with the added buffs to the HP for Fighter. So with all that said and done, though, I gotta be honest, this box as a whole did not really impress me too much. It was pretty average in my opinion, so it's just going to get a pretty average 3 out of 5 Golden Turd rating. Anyways, thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please be sure to click that like button. And if you're new to the channel or haven't already, be sure to subscribe and click that little bell icon so you get notified of new uploads as soon as they go live. Thanks again, guys. Till next time. Peace.